here, and today I'm going to be talking about the declining literacy rates in the United States of America. Well, before we get too deep into the subject, what even is a literacy rate? Bet you don't know. Why is it important? Well, according to the Cambridge Academic Content Dictionary, the literacy rate for people who are able to read and write. You might be saying, what's the big deal then? Why does it matter if a few people are able to read or not? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, before we look into the data and all the percentages, we need to know why reading and writing are so important in developed countries. Like the U.S. Reading from the NLI, otherwise known as the National Literacy Institute. The capacity to read and write, commonly known as literacy, stands out as a pivotal determinant in shaping an individual's career trajectory. Individuals with literacy skills have access to a broad spectrum of career possibilities, including highly skilled, well-paying positions. Conversely, those lacking literacy face severely restricted options, even with entry-level, low-skilled jobs posing challenges to secure. Based on this statement, we can assume if the literacy rates are low, then these higher-paying jobs, they aren't getting filled. But how important could these high-paying jobs be, Well, I'm glad you asked. 'Cause these jobs I'm talking about, they're teachers, doctors, historians, and emergency personnel. Just those guys. Well, on another point, not understanding the basic principles of reading means you cannot think for yourself. It means you cannot understand what is happening in the world around you. These political leaders that are constantly making new bills want this. They want this to happen. They want us to be illiterate. Not knowing how to read is giving yourself a handicap and is keeping you submissive to large political leaders to keep you in the system. And guess who benefits from that? It's not us. Not like us. Not like us. Well, now that that's covered, let's get into the statistics. Most, if not all, the data I'm going to be talking about is going to be from the National Literacy Institute. On average, 79% of U.S. adults nationwide are illiterate in 2024. That sounds amazing, Arya. Why were you so worried? Well, what level are they reading at? Riddle me that, Timmy. 54% of adults have a literacy below the 6th grade level. 20% are below the 5th grade level. And 21% of adults in the U.S. are illiterate. Yeah, so what I said about levels, I'm really not sure what to say after that. I mean, these are adults. We haven't even got into adolescence yet. These are the people who go to work and run our country. This is going to be a long one. Okay, well, there's an obvious effect on the economy when the literacy rates are looking the way that they do. Certain jobs that would keep a household afloat aren't being taken up, causing more families to be in the poverty category of society. The NLI states between 46 and 51% of American adults have an income well below the poverty level because of their inability to read. If we taught reading better in schools, or if we held back the kids who didn't know how to read and made sure they had the capability to read before they go into the real world, then we would have less cases of families being under the poverty line because of illiteracy. I think this quote from the NLI really sums up everything I'm about to say. 20% of Americans read below the level needed to earn a living wage. That's 69 million people. 69 million people who are struggling to make a living because of their reading capabilities. That's genuinely so crazy to me. And this is only in the United States. There's so many other people out there in the world, and so many other people who don't get the privilege to learn to read and write like all of us in the US do. Currently, there's a 5.3 dropout rate in the United States of America. That being on average 40 million youth ages 16 to 24 who have not been to high school or who have not gotten their diploma. This, of course, leads to declining literacy rates as well, leading to more people who cannot sustain themselves in the long run or throughout any section of the race. Now, you might be saying, Arya, well, I have a well-paying job. Why do literacy rates affect me? I'm perfectly fine. Well, as the NLI puts it, illiteracy costs American taxpayers an estimated $20 billion each year. The illiterate, quite literally, are costing us money in the form of taxes. You might be asking, how did we get to this point? Well, there's lots of factors that led to the literacy rate being the way it is today, and I'm going to be talking about two big reasons that the literacy rate is the way it is. First off is education. The way kids have been learning since the 2000s isn't just a bad learning system. It is inhabilitating them. It is enabling them to be illiterate. The first flaw with the way children are learning nowadays is the No Child Left Behind Act. When a child didn't understand a topic and failed a class before this time, they would retake the class until they passed it. Now, if a child fails a class, then they can move on without learning anything from the course with no repercussions. So if a child is not being held back anymore for not understanding a subject, instead of giving them another semester to actually learn and grasp the concept, they move on. They have no motivation to pass the class either because they can easily just go to the next grade level and get out of school. And if you gave a child that opportunity, what child wouldn't take it? Another major factor in education that has disadvantaged learning readers would be the removal of phonics. Phonics is the sounding out of words, syllables, syllables, things like that. They have removed them from most states' curriculum and replaced it with 3-cueing, which is looking for different words around a word that you don't know and inferring what the word means. Well, inferences are a major part of reading. Schools are only using this type of a reading skill, ignoring phonics and dictionaries. Instead of understanding, children are only being taught this type of reading skill. They're being taught memorization of words and how to look like you're reading, but you're not. The last issue I'm going to talk about is kind of a broken record, but it might just be those damn phones. Articles by the National Library of Medicine state studies have been found that prolonged screen media use is displacing more valuable activities, and that decrease in print reading time may be detrimental in early literacy development in children aged 3 to 6 years. More and more children are getting online onto social platforms earlier and earlier each year. And because of this, there's less reading being done, as when children get home, they are immediately reaching for an iPad or their phones. And because of this, their memories are fogged from brain rot and socials, and their reading time is minimized. Well, Arya, what do we do about this? What are we supposed to do? Like, if the reading system and the school system isn't working, what are we supposed to do then? Well, there's multiple different paths we can take to with the information you just learned today. And if you're in school currently and you're dealing with a phone addiction, try and focus more and more each day on your classes. Read at least 30 pages of a book each day and go outside and involve yourself in your community. Here's an incentive for you to achieve. Go online and without using AI, research a topic of your choice and write a short paragraph on it. If you have children in your life who are constantly on their iPad or their phones, then try breaking them away from it and spend time reading with them. Let them come to family events, and when they do, make sure they aren't just getting on the iPad. Make sure they're socializing in the real world with other kids their age. And if you're an adult yourself who struggles with reading or needs more time to sharpen their skills, then pick up a book every once in a while. Instead of getting on your phone right after work, start reading. In your downtime, maybe start up a hobby. I personally like to write and do my Girl Scout work in my free time. Just try and break away from your screen every now and then. We have an entire world out there. We can explore it and live it to its fullest. But most of the time, we spend that time scrolling and rotting our brains away. Why don't we change that? Let's become disgustingly smart instead of disgustingly brain rotted. Thanks for listening in today. Come back another day after picking up a book or a new hobby. And in the comments below, let's talk about what we're going to do to stop the rot. Have an amazing day, everyone, and stay smart.